You think race car drivers aren't athletes? They have to be in shape to endure a hostile environment with high G-force loads, hot temperatures, and all that equipment, safety gear. So how do drivers prepare? Here's a guy who knows something about that. Graham Rahal, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm wondering if you could explain to us what goes into getting ready for races like the Indy 500. How do you prep?
Well, there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, on the health side of things, that's one of the main factors to a driver, to the performance of the team as a whole. One of the things that I do is use Meta Health bars, which is one of those things that, with the driver's lifestyle, being on the go, being as busy as we are, it's a way for me to stay healthy, to keep my body stabilized throughout the day, and really being on the go the way that we are and doing interviews and everything else, being at the racetrack. The month of May, the Indianapolis 500 is one of those races that we practice every single day for about 3 weeks. And so you have to try to find a way to stay on top of your game, and that's helped me. But, as a driver, there's a lot that goes into it as far as cardio, lifting. In IndyCar racing, the Indy 500 is probably about 3 hours long, and your heart rate will get up to 180 to 190 beats for the entire 3-hour period.
Wow.
So you have to make sure you're on top of your game to keep that edge over everybody else.
Has it always been that way in racing? Or it kind of reminds me almost like golf, where you see today's golfers take training more seriously than some of the guys did, let's say, 20 or 30 years ago. Is that similar in your sport?
Well, I think you're spot on, actually. My dad, Bobby Rahal, raced for many, many years. And if you look back at my dad early in his career, he was smoking and all this sort of stuff. And then, he had to start taking things extremely seriously. In the mid-'80s, I would say, is when we first saw a major turn. And it's not that the cars weren't physical to drive. It's just that the competitive level wasn't quite as high. And then it became obvious that to get an edge over everybody else, you had to really be on top of your game and be working out a lot. And so, I remember as a kid watching my dad start dedicating, hours a day to lifting and riding his bike and trying to be in the best shape. And so when I got into racing, it was even more intense. People nowadays with all the reaction testing, heat stress testing and all these things that we can do, it's become, an even bigger and bigger factor in racing. Plus, if you look at race cars today versus 20 years ago, the reliability of the car itself is significantly better. We don't see engines failing and things like this anymore, so therefore it requires more out of the driver because you have to drive it harder.
How can you practice every day for 3 weeks when it's the race and you can't exactly plan for everybody else around you? So what are you practicing exactly?
That's a great point, but it's, we just have to be prepared. The Indy 500, for those who haven't been there, haven't seen it, it's the world's largest sporting event. You get 400,000 plus people here. It's the greatest, spectacle in all of racing for sure, and it's the world's biggest motorsports race. And so, we prepare all season long for this. So you need to take that time on track and try to put yourself in every circumstance you can possibly come up with to make the car better and better. It sounds funny because you'd think after, a day or two of running, shouldn't you have it down right? But it's like anything else. The preparation has got to be to the maximum in order to win this race. And so, what we may see on Sunday, maybe we didn't practice for, all month long. But you have to be prepared in any sort of conditions and make sure that me as the driver, that my frame of mind is in the right place and that we're ready to go.
Well, part of a legendary family in racing. Graham Rahal, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time and all the best this weekend, okay?